As actors, we get to rely on scripts to tell us what to do.
Like when to slap someone across the face and when to let someone slap you.
But we don't need a script to tell us to help someone in need.
The SAG Foundation was founded to do just that, to help performers with life's unscripted moments and to give back to our communities.
Over the past decade, the SAG Foundation has given millions in financial and medical assistance to SAG-AFTRA performers and their families.
Last year, more than 25,000 union performers attended over 500 SAG Foundation Q&As, seminars, and workshops.
And SAG Foundation Book Pals read to over 60,000 children in schools every month nationwide.
Do you know how much SAG-AFTRA members pay for all these resources and programs? Zero.
Zero.
Zilch.
Nada.
Do you know how much of our union dues go to the SAG Foundation? Zero.
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 The SAG Foundation is a nonprofit that relies solely on donations, so it is vital that those who are able to help give what they can.
And you've been giving since the SAG Foundation was founded in 1985.
I love 1985.
Out of Africa.
The Color Purple. The Goonies.
The Cosby Show.
Family Ties.
The Golden Girls.
What?
So many truly fantastic performances since then.
We have a wonderful history and a beautiful tradition of being there for one another. If you need help, it's here for you.
And if you can help, please give.
Like every great production, we are at our best when we all act
Together.
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 Together. So please, act now.
Wow.
It's a party. So before we get started, again, thank you to all that are in the room and those who are watching on the live stream. My name is Dennis Baker. I'm the Life Raft Program Director. A couple things before we jump in. We are trying to be social media conscious. We're on things like Twitter and Facebook. The big one that we want everyone to know about is YouTube, youtube.com/SAG Foundation. There we have over 4.5 years of Life Raft events, as well as Q&As and screenings and 2-hour Q&As, and it's all free for everyone, and it's a free educational tool. You can watch the live streams there. You can watch tonight's event when it's over there. So please not only look and use it, but share it with everyone you know, because it's free for union members and non-union members alike. So we wanted everyone to know about it. Thank you for coming. A couple of other things is we ask you at the end of the event to stay in your seats as we escort the panelists out. There's a lot of you, and we can't spend the whole time kind of having a handshake and a one-on-one. That's our cap time. Life Raft is education. So please, please stay in your seat. Don't try to sneak to the side. Don't try to shake hands. Just be respectful of their time by letting them get out the door, and we much, much appreciate it. They see you, I promise. You're all there. They see you. The lights are bright. So we're going to jump in, and as you introduce yourself, kind of share a little bit about your journey and how you kind of started and got to where you're at. So we'll start with.
It's a really long story. My name is Danielle Eskinazi. I've been casting for 25 years. I was a child prodigy, and it's a quick story. I was in the retail business. A friend of mine said, you should be doing something else. And I said, like what? She said, how about casting? And I'm like, what do they do? So she said, she told me, and I thought, how interesting. I think I could do that. So she called me 2 days later and said that there's an opening for an assistant for a West Coast casting director who's doing a film on the East Coast, and that was Risa Raymond and Billy Hopkins. I took the job. They gave me my own office. I was like, all right, I kind of like this. And as I walked into the office, in the corner, there was a guy sitting on the floor on the phone. As I looked around, it was Sean Penn. I was doing a film with Sean Penn. And I thought, and he's like, do you mind if I just sit in your office for just a second? And I'm like, oh, it's totally fine. And he's like, I'm just talking to my wife, and it was Madonna. So I was all type. And then I thought, this is where I need to be. I love this atmosphere. So that's my story, and I went on from there. Your turn.
Hi, I'm Beth Holmes, And I came to California. I was an English major at the University of Michigan, and I came to California. Back in the day, you know, you didn't have to be a theater major to be on stage. Now they really do in the universities. But anyway, so I did a lot of acting in college, and I was like a lemming. I just followed everybody, including some of the faculty, to audition for graduate schools in theater. So I got into California Institute of the Arts, and I came out here for CalArts for my MFA. And I pretty much fell out of love with acting about 2 weeks into the program. There was only one problem. No, yeah, you did. I know you did. When I boarded the plane that morning, I swore to my parents that I would never stay in California. If anything, I would go back to New York. And I met my husband that afternoon, unloading my car up at CalArts, right, 32 years later. It's a true story. So there was a little problem there. I stayed in the program to get my MFA, which I'm really proud of. I went there during the years that Don Cheadle went there. And I read about acting and, casting, excuse me, in what is now Backstage, which used to be called Drama Log. I read an interview of, Jane Jenkins and Janet Hershenson, and it sounded perfect for me. And I really lucked out. Serendipity was on my side. The guy who was brought in to direct our showcase of scenes, it was the first time CalArts did a showcase was a casting director, had been in casting at Lincoln Center. And I pulled him aside and I said, I really don't want to be in the showcase. I want to pursue casting. And he had two friends, Paul Bankston and David Cohn, who were starting a business, and I got hired walking through the graduation. Walking through commencement, the dean of the program, Libby Apple, handed me a Post-it and said, you're hired. You start tomorrow for $200 a week. Yeah, and my bosses did the Love Boat. I always say we sank the Love Boat because we did those last few seasons with Love Boat Mermaids. But I was trained on the theatrical side. I was trained doing contracts for Aaron Spelling, which was fabulous, and we fell into commercials because the director who really put me on the map, Mark Story, did a film, which didn't come out so great, but he was a big deal in comedy commercial directing at the time, and we fell into it, and I loved it because my bosses didn't always take the best scripts out there theatrically. But anyway, I fell into commercials. I loved it. It was a great career to be a mom because the commercial turnover is really quick, and I didn't have to look for work in between jobs, and be unemployed. And I'm just wrapping this up with the interesting thing is, a couple of years ago, I decided to go back to theatrical casting, and it happened through a commercial client of mine, through a commercial director. Lindsay and I are now on our 4th film. And the first one, the executive producer, was Don Cheadle, actually. And it was really cool. We never spoke. I spoke with his partner. But it was really, it's a really neat thing, and I'm enjoying it a lot. So I can do both right now. And that's really my story.
Hi, I'm Ross Lacy. I used to audition for both of these ladies when I first moved here. I went to University of Michigan, also grew up back east. And I had acted in high school, a little bit in college, and then I broke my arm. I was looking for what to do, and a good friend of mine I went to high school and college with, Lucy Liu, was out here, and she was like, you gotta come out, and I've got it all dialed in, come on out here. She really did have it dialed in, and she, went far, but I moved out here, I acted for a few years, and was running sessions for commercials, and met all the actors, and kind of really got into it, and realized I really liked doing that portion of it. And wanted to break in somehow to the business, and did someone a favor, and they offered me to pay me for a week of consulting, and instead I said, could I have a director of yours over at the HKM days? And I said, hey, is there someone who I could cast a spot for? I cast a Fila spot for him, and it went to win Spot of the Week in Shoot Magazine, and I still cast for him today, 20 years later. And so started casting solely, got married. She's an actress, one in the family's enough. And then, and that's it, here I am.
Let's give him another hand, yeah. So we're going to jump in, and we'll start with Danielle, and you guys jump in with your guys' perspective. Obviously, you have relationships, long-term 20-year relationships with certain ad agencies, but when there's maybe a new one that you're looking to maybe audition for, quote-unquote, what is it about a project? Is it the ad agency? Is it the company? What makes you want to go, I want to pursue that job, and I want to be a part of that campaign?
Well, I think we just want to pursue any job. I don't think it's just
If they can pay us.
specifically. Yeah, but we do the same thing you guys do. You know, we send out reels. You know, we actively search for new production companies, and so we definitely feel what you feel. We do the exact same thing. I mean, that's basically.
I was gonna say, like, I mean, I don't know about you guys. I would probably say 85% of the work comes from directors and production companies, rather than ad agencies. Like, it's, you know, you do meet ad producers, line producers from the agency who bring you over to other jobs, but most of it is through production companies and our relationships with the directors.
Exactly. Yeah, our clients are really directors, so when our director gets a job, we get a job. We're one of their subcontractors, like their location and their makeup and their production designer. If you're lucky, you can have 4 or 6 stable directors who work all the time and it'll keep you crazy, or you can have 4 and 6 who don't, and you know, especially in this day and age, don't get a lot of work, and you can find downtimes too. But for commercials casting, our clients, when the director gets a job, we get a job. And I always say our director, you know, it's like your hairstylist. You want they want that one person on the job. So like Ross was saying about his client who's been with him 20 years, it's sometimes hard. Commercial directors don't move around a lot, I would say, if they're young and they're starting out. But you know, we really develop a relationship with directors, and hopefully they continue to get good work.
Yeah.
And then when you talked, we talked about the idea of audition for casting directors. How do you guys prep for a meeting if it's a new director, or if they're thinking about, you know, they're looking to build a relationship with a casting director? What is that? We have our prep time as actors. What is your prep time for that meeting?
Oh, we look at their reels.
Yeah,
and we kind of search and see who they are and what they've done, what spec spots they've done. So we really do that kind of research.
But it's really not, we don't really meet with them. We get a call from an executive producer or someone bidding the job and say, hey, you were referred to us, and often we don't necessarily know how. They might have seen something and looked it up, and we may have a conversation with them and not meet them until callbacks. Different, of course, on the theatrical side, where you do have to have a meeting and there is a lot of prep, and then you meet a producer and you want to give them your ideas, but you don't want them to take your ideas. In commercials, you're really started by a production team, and you meet the director later on.
I think that all 3 of us are lucky enough that we have directors who, we have reels now that speak for ourselves. So yes, a lot of times a new director signs with a production company, and then they look at our reel and they say, oh, let's have, you know, Ross cast that, you know, Mark or Noam or something, like directors who have gone on and they see their work and they go, okay. And a lot of times the directors are focused on one area more so, like whether it's vignettes and look or comedy or whatever. And so you build up that, and then that's what they buy into. It's very rare that we are actively pitching and saying, here, take a look.
Yeah, we just have reels on our website, so they directly go to that and look to see if that, you know, if it's the same taste, if we have the same taste as the director. So.
Great. I was going to say also, like you guys, it's relationships, and everyone who you meet and everyone who you know. It's the same thing with us. It's the relationships that we have and that we've, you know, pampered over the years and taken care of and done favors for, and, you know, worked when work was there, and work gets work.
I'm going to start with Ross, and we'll go down this way. This is your chance to be a good boss and give a shout out to all your staff and session runners. So just kind of share who are the people in your office that make it run.
But I was going to make a joke, but no, it's Shane Springer and Buffy Charlet are the 2 people who are with me every single day. And then I have camera operators, session directors who have been with me for almost 20 years also. Dave Reifschneider, Jerry Butane. They've been there forever. And then also, it's a shout out time. About 5 years ago, I started a company called 200 South, which is a studio. And other casting directors work out of there. And the front desk staff there and Kelly Ewing are amazing. And they make it all day by day happen.
I have 2 assistants as well, and Lindsay Belloc is my assistant who started with me almost the exact same time when I decided to diversify back to theatrical stuff. Swear to God, miraculously, her resume appeared, and she emailed, and she was looking for, she had trained as an intern at Ulrich Dawson Kritzer, and was not getting work, and decided to email commercial casting directors. She has one of those theatrical minds, like an encyclopedia, where she knows everyone on every show, so I love being with her, because it's like, who is that guy? And she knows exactly, and there's so much content on TV right now. But I have to say, because Lindsay Bellick-Lieber, but Monica Lee Eisenbeiss, and Monica's an actress as well, has been with me since the dawn of man. Oh, and then she's an actress, though, and she didn't really want to work in casting, and she took an absence for a while until Lindsay got pregnant. And she came back on Lindsay's maternity leave, and now they job share, which is an amazing situation for women. So Lindsay works till 3:30, Monica comes in at 2:30. If we're busy, they're both there. But my #1 session director, Sean Fenton, who went to Cal Arts with me and was Jim's roommate, so he knows all the back dirt. I can't really get away with too much. And you know, they're like all these guys. There's a ton of other great session directors, and I'm meeting new ones all the time. I meet Jamie Nations is new to me, and Sean Sharma is new to me. They're outstanding. Interestingly enough, whereas some of them are actors, some of the session directors who are not actors end up getting Taft-Hartley in some work because they are allowed the privilege of seeing how, you know, how auditions work, and they get confidence. But I would say that's my staff. Oh, I do want to say, since I moved offices, I've downscaled because I didn't want a big studio anymore, so I just wanted one nice studio. I went to Ross's a few times for callbacks recently, and he's right, his staff was incredible. It was great, so shout out, yeah.
I have a shout out, Shannon Hagenbach, please stand up. She's my right-hand man, and I have an array of wonderful camera operators that I work with all the time who are also actors, and I just have to tell them one thing, what to do, and they totally take it away, and if it was without them, I'd be lost. They're amazing.
So maybe an actor in this room is going to be the next future commercial casting director, and they obviously have to start in an office and learn from pros like yourself. What makes a good session director and a good commercial associate or assistant?
Take it away, Ross.
There are so many. I wish I knew. I'd hire them. I'd find them and go get them. I think that we have a great team that, again, without them, we would be lost, the session directors. They take what, you know, it's kind of like playing a game of telephone. The ad agency has pitched a client. The client has bought their spot. They've written boards. They've given it to a director. The director's written a treatment. And we see all these different pieces of the puzzle. And we're supposed to then, a lot of times, without even talking to anyone, translate what they want us to run in the auditions. And so it's kind of a collaborative effort. The people who are good, who work for us, for me, but I think for all of us, because a lot of the camera operators float around too and bounce back and forth for regularity of work. But they know what they're doing, they look at it, and I will hire different people, whether it's comedy or whether it's drama or whether it's kids or whether it's beauty, or like it really does, like part of the job is figuring out who would be the best person who could do that job.
I will say this though, those men and women have multitasking brains, because back in the day when the equipment was, you know, much more dynamic, there was problems, technical problems, but now they have to be computer literate, and they sometimes, when we transition from LA casting to whatever the new thing is, they unfortunately have to sometimes spend less time with the actor, which is frustrating, because then we call in, you know, we'll be watching from our spy cam in our office, like, wait a minute, I told you they need to this, or they're too big. We're always watching, by the way. We're always watching. And so, and on top of that, they have to be relaxed personalities in a very high-pressured situation. And then some like to go into the callback room where they're sometimes not even treated with the decency of a production assistant. They're really usually very self-contained, confident people, neurotic people, so it's not suited for a lot of, you know, or people who need a lot of stroking don't tend up being session directors. The office situation is different, and I don't know if you guys have found that, but I've tried assistants sometimes, and you don't always know with your right hand until 3 months in who's really good. There's just a lot of detail work that goes into casting and any part of production. It is a really fun job, though. I have to say, if you don't mind working long hours, I think my office is a blast. And we have a lot of fun. We laugh all day.
I mean, I still love going in there and doing what we do. I mean, I love it.
Oh my God, every
truly
single
love
day.
It.
And the thing is, they really have to get along with the clients and the director. That's really, really important. So they really have to be pretty even, because we're not always in there all the time. So that's really, really important. So they have to have a good personality and make them feel comfortable.
And from a skill thing, also, they really do. I applaud them. We are all multitaskers too, because we're juggling multiple jobs and clients and everything. They all want to think that it's just their job that you're doing. No one's seeing this, right?
No.
But
Just you.
But these guys in the room, when they're doing an audition all day long, and it's the multitasking, trying to keep and to make a tape that's not homogenous, that they're giving different things and letting each actor breathe and make a choice. And it's fascinating when you sit in a room. I mean, I remember when I first started casting, and as a like assistant learning, you sit in the room and you watch 40 people make 40 different choices of the same thing, and it's fascinating.
And also, they have to repeat it 40 different times. Yep. I mean, they're in there and they're so patient. So it's, you know, good staff is hard to find these days. No, I'm kidding.
And because of this good staff and maybe sometimes 20-year, 10-year relationships, do you rely on them when you're looking to cast? Is there a percentage that you go, okay, do they have a little input, and who do you bring into the audition room sometimes?
Well, what
does that look like for you guys?
We do the picking. So, you know, when we get the breakdown, we put out the auditions and to all the agents, and we pick the people who we want there. Sometimes the pictures don't look like you.
We'll get there.
So that gets a little difficult to put you, when we want something and we see something and then you walk in and you're completely different. It's kind of hard, but you know, we always talk to them and say, you know, how did they do? And even though we do look, we're not in the room, but you know, we definitely, they help us out a lot with that.
So they're huge on feedback.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are. You know, we're really hired for our taste and opinion. So each of us, I'm sure, have an idea when we're given a spec of how a certain role. You know, these are the surgeons, but mix men and women and mix all ethnicities. And they do have dialogue, so they do have to act. Then I sort of automatically and instinctively, after doing this for so long, have an idea. I want 40% of the session. Let's say if I can see 60 actors need to be actors I know I can count on, and then I want to try some young, really interesting, edgy people who I don't know what their ethnicity is, or I want to push the envelope, or I can't push the envelope because after all, it's Kohl's department store and they're never going to push the envelope, with stuff like that. So, but if someone says, you know, I saw someone at a showcase, or can someone come in, my office, I like to try it, but I am also sort of protective about the session because the buck stops with me creatively.
Ultimately, the phone call at 6 in the morning comes to us. But I would say that I build all the schedules, so I ultimately see everyone who comes in for every job is my choice. But I do rely on the people in my staff who are actors and actresses who work not in I rely on the camera ops for feedback, but in my office to help me pre-prep stuff, because it actually gives a fresh cut on things, because the same way for us to not make it homogenous, like it provides a good balance of looking in different places. But like Beth was saying, depending on the job, depending on what you're trying to get, we are bound by budgets and days of casting as well. So what happens is, it would be great to cast 5 days to find this hero role for Verizon, but we can only give you 1 day of casting. So what weighs into my mind immediately when you're talking about numbers and counting, it's like you go, okay, I can see 80 people, and out of that 80, I've got to bring in 20 people who I know can hit it out of the park. And then I've got to bring in 10 that are, you know, maybes. And it's all a balance, because you want to show your directors new, fresh faces, but you also don't want them to say, hey, dude, we didn't find it. Like, we're screwed now.
Yeah, they get upset that. But I would say, in line with what Ross is saying, in the old days, you need to know they would award a job a week before they actually needed a casting session, and you would do 2 or 3 days of casting, and then there would be this period of feedback, and then they would have another 2 days. It was delightful.
It's not
and
like
now
that.
they bid 1 prep day and 2 casting days for anywhere from 1 role to 30 roles. And I have this expression, I always say, the sun goes up and the sun goes down, guys. I mean, you can only do so much in a day well. You know, we can jam it.
You're getting a 30 roll breakdown, and you're putting it out at 2 o'clock, and they want a double session tomorrow.
And it breaks
and it's like,
my
so it's
heart.
hard for us to pick,
Yeah, there's you know, like 2,800 people submitted for that surgeon, you know, and we have time for 60. I can't stand that. Not just because I'm, you know, married to an actor and I'm pro actor, but I feel bad creatively. Like I want this director, you know, And it's interesting. It's just interesting dilemma.
Which brings me to one more thing, which is the numbers that, again, the 2,800 people for the surgeon role, right? And we're seeing 60, and you get an audition, and then you don't show up.
Yeah. Or don't call.
And so it's kind of like, my wife's an actress, and it's the same. I'm always amazed when people just blow it off, because you've already kind of won the lottery by getting in the door. Like now it's your turn to show us your stuff.
This is the thing. It's 15 minutes of your time. You know, you get dressed, you go to the audition, and then you go to the next one. You know, you just have to come in on time, dress the part, and be prepared. That's all you have to do. And when you don't show up, it just screws up our whole schedule, especially when we're doing families.
Oh, yeah.
And we're missing, you know, a child.
That happened to me this week.
Or,
oh, yeah.
Or we're missing a father.
The one with all the dialogue.
Yeah, right.
Can we do 4 dads together instead of a dad and mom? And I was like, you know.
No, we can't.
But you know, with LA Casting, I don't know if actors know this, we can switch the order of the audition. So if we have no one show up at the 10 o'clock slot and the first 10 o'clock group is all
rebuild. Yeah.
Flunked and weird, we're like, just bury them to the 30th, and we'll put the well-matched people in the first 10.
Yeah, we can flip people on the link, because we don't send tapes anymore. We can just slide people around.
I mean, you don't even know how many threats at the end when I build my schedule and say, please confirm or else. That's what we say. You know, it's just a box that you check, and people just don't check it. So I always say, if you don't check it, you lose your spot. So I know, I'm harsh.
It does make things hard, because then on the other flip side, we are bound, you know, to get you guys in and out in a certain time, or else there's a payment penalty. And so if we don't have people showing up a lot, then we overbuild the next day, and then everyone shows up.
Yeah.
And then we're
Screwed.
we're either paying, or we are not providing the kind of quality and direction and time that
And our session
you guys
director
deserve.
does not love us
Yeah,
anymore.
definitely.
Those guys struggle with that. They're the ones who suffer the most.
Do you guys have a typical philosophy around those time slots in relation to agencies? Is it, how does that work for you guys? Because it's so limited.
It's job to job, really.
Yeah.
There are jobs where I like to be actor generous, like I say. I'm really not tooting my own horn when I say that. I recognize how hard it is to be in LA and be at 2 places at one time. But the time slots, my assistants will say, please, 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 please don't put a time frame out for this one. It'll be nuts. And you don't usually do time frames for callbacks, because then you're screwed too. But it depends on any given job. We were seeing motorcycle gang guys and women the other day for 3 hours with no dialogue. So yeah, use the time frame. That's fine. We're just sliding 10 in at a time. So every job is different on that. I would say it's not different. I don't know if you guys agree. Depend on the talent agent.
No.
Or is there, in the sense of certain talent, in the sense of more time slots versus less time slots, things like that?
That's a different.
I go from A to Z. I really don't put all my eggs in one basket, because, you know, I've had also directors for 15 years, and if they see the same people every single time, they're going to get bored with us. So we have to always keep it fresh and go. You know, sometimes the smaller agencies go out and find new people, are just more active in that, and I really appreciate that. And that's why I also do a lot of workshops as well, is to find, you know, new, fresh faces for my directors.
It used to be, when the submissions came to us, that they were presented, when LA Casting first came out, the digital online thing that we all use, it was that they were alphabetically organized, and we had and then we had them change that, because you would fill up. People in the top were getting more appointments, because it is a lot for us to go through. But I agree, like the point is for us to try to give fresh faces to our directors. So it behooves us to dig deeper and to go in and look at all the pictures.
Yeah, it feels to most commercial casting directors, I think, of our peers, we feel obligated to try and get through everything. I mean, you know, having said that, if you're really doing a high fashion beauty spot, which is not what I typically do, they're really the most beautiful people in the world with a certain selection of agents. And as well, when you're seeing 40-year-olds who have a ton of comedic dialogue, most likely they're, by the time they're 40, gathered with a certain selection of agents. I mean, that's just a reality. Young people out of college, out of the great theater schools can be anywhere. And that's what I've been doing a lot in films, is doing these broad searches for that. So that's a different way to look at it. You definitely want to go through everybody. Great, unusual looks, you definitely want to go through every agent.
So it's not, to answer, it's not so much that one agent gets more times per se per job. But if we are looking for a comedy improv thing, like Beth said, or a beauty thing, one agency will inevitably get more times because that's what they're specializing in. And so that,
that's what they're known for. Yeah. We'll start with Ross, and anyone else who wants to jump in. Talk about double submissions. Is it a problem for you? Is it not a problem? If it is...
No, I just don't see them.
You don't see them?
No, I'm just kidding.
What do you mean?
Nah. Like you...
Submissions for each part.
Each part. If there's
one agent submitting, I'm sorry, two agents submitting the same
two
person?
Agents or an agent and a manager submitting the same person.
Got
so it's you get 2,800, but some of those are.
It's not.
Is that a problem
I wouldn't
for you?
say it's a huge problem. There are certain ones. The way it works also now is that because it does line them up, it randomly picks alphabetically where to start. Every page is a new thing, but they will show up next to each other.
Yeah.
So you can see the double submission. So it's honestly not a problem.
So
More so is when they submit two. Beth
surgeon
gets submitted
and
for
the
the same,
CEO.
for the surgeon and the CEO,
Yeah.
Right.
and then you pick them, and then you waste one of your precious 80 time slots that you've given away.
I mean, we always write when we put out the breakdown too, please don't double submit, so.
You know what would also be interesting for you guys to know, unless you know it already, when we pick a talent to audition, we get to itemize them as 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, in priority of how we want to put them in the schedule. And it was a good idea for LA Casting to do it that way, but by the time you've gone through 2,800 surgeons, I don't know what the disparity is between my 2s and my 4s. So what most of us do is we just prep everybody as a 1, or everybody, we get 140 and I can see 60, and then we'll go through our 140 and weed that down to the 60 that I actually want in, and save the other for backups or for no-shows or cancellations and stuff like that. I don't know if you guys knew that, but it's a way to help us organize the mass that we have to.
And I do use the 1, 2. I like
I do too.
my ones are like, I got to get these people in, and it's funny because I do, after the 10th page of 100 pictures, I go, you're just kind of, it's harder to just to remember where to put them, which is why I try to be really, the ones I've got to see them.
But they
and
slide to the
smaller,
right. All the other ones slide to the right, and you
Yes.
just push them through. Yeah. Yeah, our job is not easy. I'm kidding.
There's a lot of moving of pictures back and forth. We're gonna
carpal tunnel.
It's carpal.
Yeah.
Glasses. We're gonna sprinkle in a couple of audience questions. There'll be more going around. I know they're getting collected. Andy Goldenberg, do we get where's Andy in the room? Is there Andy? Say hi, Andy.
Hey, Andy.
So the, self-taping is becoming more and more popular in the theatrical world. Do you see it coming to commercial or not so much? Is it on the horizon?
Can I take that question?
Absolutely.
Please, Beth, do.
Pipe in. That is a great question, because our community was really, really worried about it, because it happened in the voiceover world, where voiceover casting directors are all but extinct. Am I wrong? I'm right? There's not, because people, not only were actors able to do voiceover auditions in their talent agent's office, now they can do them at home. And my husband has a voiceover studio in his closet, you know what I mean? And so about, I don't know, however long it was ago, a particular commercial casting director got super worried about it and wanted to create a LA Casting or Casting Frontier to understand that only casting directors could look at it. And here's the deal. We get so much information from our directors and from the ad agencies of how they want a session to look. For them to look at self-tapes would make them frickin' nuts. And it would take forever, and they don't have the salary or the staff to do it. In the theatrical world, I cast an entire movie from my office, including the Dallas casting. It's shooting in Dallas and Prague. Nothing is shot here. There was a big search I had to do for a ballerina and stuff like that. The self-tapes for like The Little Sister out of Dallas were fabulous. It was great. Then I just hired a studio in Dallas to do the callbacks there. It's a whole other deal. Theatrically, I don't see it happening in commercials unless it's a super special skill and someone is, a surfer or something, and they're out of the state right now. I have done it. I actually have done it, but for very specialized situations.
Yeah, we don't really do it much in commercials. And plus, they want to see them live. in callbacks.
And well lit.
And yeah, and
doing the right
directed,
copy,
you know,
yeah.
so.
And speedily.
It might not be good for you. You know what I mean? To send it in.
I think that theatrical, even in LA, and I think partly it's probably a cost savings thing, even in LA, self-taping for theatrical happens a lot. I mean, my wife uses the studio all the time to put herself on, because it's no longer, the casting director is pre-weeding theatrically.
And the other reason why, by the way, is theatrical casting directors are light years behind technologically. They have these terrible little cameras, and they right? You guys know, and they shoot against an ugly back, and you're lit terribly, so they have. It's weird that they haven't, and they have to upload in real time. It's just a nightmare. So we're like. I tried to, tell the Dee Dee Bradley shares office space with me. I was like, you know what? Why don't, no, it's not what their producers want. Oh well.
For the unknown or unrepresented actor, how do they get on your radar? How does that happen for you? I know, for example, Danielle, you're on Twitter, so maybe there's a connection there.
Social media is really big for me, and I've actually found so many people that I do bring in through social media, and what they do is they take my workshop, so I get to meet them in person as well. And they read for me. So for me, Twitter is amazing, and I think everybody should be on social media. We didn't have this 10 years ago, and we would get postcards, and we really wouldn't keep them very long. So being on Twitter, you actually have conversations with actors, and conversations with people that you would have never had years ago. We always post when our workshops are, what we're doing, and I always retweet whenever you guys book something, and so it's just a nice little society.
I don't do that at all.
People who give me wine and beer, I usually.
I know. I so respect that. I think it's awesome. I'll do workshop. I guest at things once in a while, but I have to say, for me and my office, I really enjoy my relationship with agents. I trust what they do, and I don't want them to go out of business. I feel they suffer really bad with SAG strikes, and I count on them for certain things. I've had to use Craigslist for special stuff, but I like postcards. That's what I wanted to say. I just love postcards, and if you're right for what I'm doing, I do. They get thrown away pretty fast.
Yeah,
she's totally right.
Exactly.
But so it's serendipity. But I think they're great information. I go through all of them.
Okay. I mean, I was thinking, yes, I kind of miss doing workshops, which I don't do anymore.
I do too.
But I agree that we rely on the agents. Like, I'm hoping that they are scouting and finding people, and then they're calling and they're pitching and saying, hey, you've got to see so-and-so for this.
But don't you see the same people, though, a lot of the times?
No.
You mean as new faces?
Yeah, like, like I just found two amazing people, comedy people in a workshop and they don't have agents.
Oh, I do find people and great people.
Yeah.
It's true. You're absolutely right. The other thing that I do every spring is go to the college showcases. I love and a lot of agents are there, and there's some outstanding young talent.
And we do bring people in from there. I mean, that's the truth. Like, it looks great. You find someone. There was a girl today at my callback someone from New York sent me a postcard or sent me an email saying, can you meet my friend Anne? And I was really dreading it. Yeah. And I met her, and I thought she was great, and I got her an agent, and she's with KMR, and she had 2 callbacks for me this week, and it's just, it kind of,
but I have to say,
it's good to show new faces.
Absolutely.
And he's totally right about that. That girl will probably have been okay anyway. There's that whole be clear about who she's probably super talented and fabulous looking and stuff like that. And those people usually end up doing pretty well anyway,
Yeah, and I do love pushes from agents, when they say, oh, some girl just came in from New York and you should meet her. I am so open to that as well. That's even more, just bring it on.
And they don't do it a lot, interesting, anymore. Like the notes on our submissions, there are not a lot of those just signed her from, came in from Cunningham in New York, you really should see her. So recommend it to your agent.
Noted. Use the note section.
Yeah.
What does an actor do in a room that makes you go, I want this person back? I want to bring them back for something else that draws you to them? What is it about what they do in a room that you're like, okay, this person I'm calling back for something else if this doesn't work
out? When they come in and they're confident but not cocky, And they are comfortable in the atmosphere that they're in, and they do their work, and they do it well without overshadowing other actors, and you know, sort of keeping focus, which to me is so important, because sometimes, you know, you walk in and you're a little nervous and you're kind of all over the place, and, you know, where do I look? You know, ask us, where do I look? That's all you have to do. You know, if you're not sure about something, ask us. We're always there to help you. But, you know, the focus to me is really, really important. Getting the lines down, even though it's one line, you know, some actors are like, oh, I'll get it when I get in there. You know, sometimes you flub it up when you do that. So just, you know, be prepared. It's like, you know, going to a job, you know, interview. You know, you want to be prepared. So
it seems like such a basic thing.
It is basic. It's so simple.
But it truly, like, it's to me, it's not what you do in the room, but maybe it's what you don't do in the room. It's if you come in and are prepared and do a good job and take, you know, it's your job to lose at that point, in my opinion. And it'd be very easy for, you know, the rejection process is very hard. And so if you don't get the job and you go, oh, well, you know what, I was talking out in the lobby to my friend I hadn't seen in so long, so if I had paid attention, I would have gotten it. Just if you are focused and you come in and you do it, even if it's not the performance that gets you the job, but it shows that you're there and you're present, and you're prepared, then I want you to come back, because I know the next time you're going to do a great job as well.
When you do well, you show us off well, and it validates that we were hired for the job. You know, when they think that, you know, it's good when they have embarrassment of riches, and Danielle and Ross are giving excellent technical advice, but you know, your question has a part B to it, which is that what attracts you to an actor, and which is an enigmatic thing, like the same reason why you guys love certain actors and don't like certain actors. There's also the plain old talent and charm and sparkle and a gift with language, period. It's why I have an MFA in acting, and when I do talk to actors in a waiting room, I say, don't ever imitate what I do, because I can't. I have so much respect. What happened for me in the theater program is I sat back and became a critical eye. And allow yourself a critical eye of who's working a lot and why they're working a lot, who you may somehow be similar to. And what makes them enigmatic doesn't necessarily mean they're a great interview on Jimmy Fallon. It's their performance, and it's a special thing, just like any gifted artist. You know, not all of us have it.
And the thing, too, is don't bring negative attention to yourself.
Yes.
If you come in and you're like, oh, I'm so sorry, I was so bad in there. As far as I knew, you were great. You know what I mean? So don't bring that negative attention to yourself.
Until you told us that.
Until you don't get a call back, and
now
then we agree
know.
with you. No, but, you know, as far as we know, you did a great job. So don't bring that negative attention to yourself. That's really, really important. A lot of you guys are just so hard on yourselves. Do your job and leave and forget about it.
And
that's it.
With respect to those wonderful session directors, they use their own language in the room, which is interpreted, like Ross said, from a product to an ad agency to a production company to a director to us, to him and or her, and he reinterprets it to give you direction for the audition. It's a common mistake when actors come into a callback and they immediately say, well, the first time I did it, and there's the director, the real director, the big money director, and all the ad agency, and they don't really want to know what Sean or Kirk or, you know, they don't, and it's a defensive way to say, so if I screw up, it's really not my fault.
Don't blame me.
And it's already, you know, yeah, right. And I'm just in the room like, you know, come in ready to work again with a whole other set of instructions, some similar outline, a similar parameter, but don't come in and say, excuse number one.
Yeah.
So let's have Ross start this question. Ross, for you, define what it means to crash in an audition.
I hope it's pretty clear, but
just in case.
If you no. So yes, it comes back to we have time slots and we have a set number of people who we can see. And yeah, it'd be great if we could see everyone in town, but we can't. And so someone shows up, and I've heard every possible story as to why they're there and who told them that they should be showing up there. I mean, there's the people who, like the serial crashers, who are just trolling the lobby looking for things to come. And then there's like the one-off who's a friend, but the friend left. And it's just, it goes on. And it hurts. it slows us down. It takes away all the time. And talk about like what makes us not want to bring someone back. If you want to get on a list really quickly, crash a couple auditions because your name will stand out, and then and we know, yeah. So it's not that we're saying no, you shouldn't be there. I mean, not even saying no, you're not right for it. It may be all those things, but we don't really encourage it, and we don't see a lot of people who crash.
It's like if you have a toothache and you're like, I think I'll go to the dentist without making an appointment. You wouldn't do that. So.
Sometimes they book.
No, they do, and sometimes.
But have
your agent give us a call, and even I would say, I guess I don't really consider this crashing. We do get a lot of calls from people who are in the lobby, and they're auditioning for something else.
That's
fine.
No,
that's fine. And their agent's like, hey, John is there right now for Chevron. What do you think about? Oh, he's right or he isn't right, or oh yeah, that'd be great. Like
sure.
But this is what happened.
But just showing up at the door is not.
This is what happened to me once. Someone crashed an audition, and they booked the job, which is great. They got on the set, and they had a conflict.
Oh, wow.
That's what happens, and it was a nightmare for the ad agency wanted to sue the production company. The production company wanted to sue the ad agency, the agent, and the agent didn't even know that they went in, and just booked the job, and then later got like the holding fee, and they're like, oh my God, and she was on set, and it was one person for a pharmaceutical. So that was the biggest nightmare, and that's another reason why you don't crash. If you're gonna crash, ask, and then let us know that you absolutely have no conflicts.
And also recognize some offices are going to be kinder, and you're just taking a risk. Some offices will bark at you, depending on, and some offices are kinder. The
other thing that happened to us once, or twice actually, was that an actor who we do use and we love, and he crashed, thinking that it'd be right. He didn't have a conflict, but it was a regional run commercial holding phones. And he got a call back, and we held him to it. We were like, you crashed, so you need to come. Even though it's not a national network, I expect you to show up and do it.
Yep.
And yeah,
we showed
thought it was fair.
Yeah.
Funny story, one of the bikers who booked this job I've been talking about the bikers with this week, my assistant said, is a Taft-Hartley. Mm-hmm. And 2 of the 6 bikers are Taft-Hartleys, and I don't know why agents aren't really telling us they're non-union at the time of callback. And Lindsay said to me, and he was a crasher. I mean, he was an add-in, and I haven't gotten to the bottom of that. That means he wasn't in my schedule for some reason, but maybe we did give an agent permission. I haven't figured that out yet. And so to Taft-Hartley, a biker, I looked for a special skill so we don't get fun, because it's a bike fight. It's a fight in the bar with the hero. And I said, well, look at his resume. Does he either have motorcycle experience? Does he have a motorcycle license, or does he have like martial arts? So I'm not punished. Our clients aren't punished by SAG and fined, with respect to all actors. Turns out he went to Yale Drama School. This big, scary, tattooed guy. So I was like, it's fine. I'll tell the producer it's going to be fine. He's going to get through. It's not a big deal. And I'll report back to Dennis whether he was a crasher or an add-in. Make sure I don't get fined.
Let's talk a little bit about marketing materials. Is it true that the only thing a headshot needs to be is a professional shot that looks like you, or is there something more to that headshot in your opinion? Maybe start with Danielle.
I mean, for me, it's all in the eyes. Our pictures are about this big, and we do click on them to make them larger. To me, it's the connection with the eyes, and I mean, we have the character, what the director wants, and it's also our job to pepper in some of the people that he didn't think of, but that's just regular up, none of these, I like straight ahead shots, and don't put 12 pictures on the bottom. By the 12th one, we're like, nah. So just put your best 4. You could do like, a doctor smock or, a lawyer thing. That's fine. But don't go crazy with like, I've got pink hair and I'm a punk rocker, Just be yourself and look like yourself when you walk in. That's what we want to see.
Yeah, the other thing I like to tell actors is don't forget your photographer is not a casting director. And a lot of photographers do those fabulous postures that Danielle showed you because they're just having an interesting time and have a notion because one of their really good friends is an actor or something like that.
Exactly.
Better to take the advice of an assistant in a casting office or a session director who you're really good friends with. Show them some pictures of people, some headshots, or ask them to collect some headshots. You can't keep them, but of actors who look like you and look at them and maybe if you could take I have actors, like for actors who I'm friends with, I'll put them together a file and show this to the photographer once you've chosen your photographer. This is what you're going for. But the photographer is not in the casting process. So
I would say even the same with agents. Like I prefer all of our opinions versus even an agent's opinion because they may think it's great, but we're the ones who see it. We just started putting together a file this week of bad ones that we're going to make a tabletop book of because there's some doozies out there.
Oh.
And I would just say that the number one, we really did, literally this week, started putting together a group of pictures to put, because it's just it baffles me what people submit as, maybe they thought they looked really good there, but it just doesn't look like them. I think an accurate representation and in the eyes and don't overdo it. Like we want a true representation of who you are. That's the number one
as authentic as possible.
Yes.
What I do, I just want to add, when I go to CalArts, I talk to the graduates of CalArts or Occidental or LMU. I go all over the place. I take a stack of 100 good and bad that I've collected over the years, and I spread them out like floor tiles, and I just have them walk around. And I say, start to think about what looks good for your husband or wife's desk, as opposed to what's professional. Because there's some beautiful, beautiful pictures of people that should be in family albums, but are not necessarily professional. And start to figure out what you're attracted to as a human being, because we all have our levels of attraction, versus what's a professional headshot. So doing what Ross did and looking at a panorama of a lot of different ones will develop your own critical eye as well.
As social media is becoming more of the norm, do you think?
For her. Yeah.
But
Beth doesn't do that.
No,
So
I know,
I guess
I'm
that's my
afraid.
question.
But it's for you guys too, because are actors becoming better at using it well, or using it to share too much information when they book a job or something?
Yeah,
Like
there's a thing called NDA, which is a non-disclosure agreement. And when you book a job, you sign that NDA when you walk into the audition. Don't go, hey, I just booked a Toyota commercial, everybody. There are ad agencies that actually find you. And they also look at your Facebook pictures, because I had to call many people to take down what they just booked and signed an NDA with. And they could actually pull you from a job. So be really, really careful what you put on your Facebook. I know it's your wall, and you could do whatever you want with it. But if you're going to be in this business, also, don't do these crazy debauchery pictures as well, where you're naked sitting on someone's shoulder drinking a beer. They look for that too, especially with pharmaceuticals. We actually had to pull people from a job because they're representing the product, and we just don't want them to.
It's
look like
amazing
that.
what you can find.
Yeah.
And agencies, ad agencies, more and more now are doing like their little mini self-background checks to see what people have out there. That's, some people are very touchy about it.
And we in the Commercial Casting Directors Association had a labor relations attorney write us up an NDA because people were taking stuff from auditions and saying, just auditioned at Ross's for the funniest, yada, yada, yada. Yeah. And we get in big trouble.
Yeah.
I mean, we have
There's
a lot
some
of
things
stories.
where we even have to collect our scripts after each.
Yeah.
Like you can't even put them in the lobby anymore. You have to give
Right,
give it to you and get it back from you.
Yeah, I switched at birth. They don't give the actors the real script. They give you a phony audition because they don't want the spoilers of their TV shows to be told out to the world. They know they can't control it, so they just say, screw it, I'm just going to make a scene up.
And if you're excited, just tweet that you just booked a national. We'll all applaud you, and you can move on. So just be careful what you put out there, because there are people that, we hired a guy we wanted to hire a guy for a pharmaceutical, and we found out he did porn when he was like 30 years ago, and that's how way back that they go. Yeah. I mean, they find you, they're
Mr. Skin has a lot of stuff in there. Truly, I mean, a lot of people are looking and seeing if there's any. I have one company we work for a ton, and they check every single person, and if there's any issue of anything, they're which is unfortunate, because some of the stuff is legit theatrical great stuff, and they're transferring it over.
Certain things they can't check legally under federal law, and we're walking this really fine line. Like if you were arrested in college for pot 20 years ago, you don't have to disclose that when you go for any job interview, so.
But it's on there. Yeah, I mean, everything's on social media, I think. Yeah. And you're afraid of it. Beth, if you want to come to
think this
my
just turned
office,
into a meeting.
if you want to
This is
come to
actually
my
an
office, I'll show
intervention.
you. I'll show you how
That's
to
why
use
you
it.
guys went to camp. As soon as I said Beth was on the panel, they were said yes. We got a couple questions that are a similar topic from Melanie Recker. Are you Melanie out there? Let's say hi, Melanie. Hi, and then also from Marilyn and Dennis. Marilyn and Dennis, did they get back there? I have a feeling they...
Is that like Sonny and Cher?
Yeah. They're a couple, which relates to this question.
Awesome. Okay.
The idea of real, quote-unquote, real couple. So say you're an actor, but your couple, your partner, isn't an actor. Do they still want that real couple?
I mean,
or
if
is
we're
it
looking for
just-
families, if they ask for real families, yeah, we'll bring them in.
Depends on the job, sure.
Yeah.
And so the other person doesn't have to be an actor. It's not a problem.
As long as SAG doesn't fine us when we
Okay.
have to Taft-Hartley the
I mean, that's a pretty
non-actor.
good Taft-Hartley. They were looking for real families, and, you know, one's an actor, one isn't.
I think that if more often than not, I mean, yes, if they're looking for a real family, sure, we'll try to reach it out there. And we'll put, again, my wife gets audition notices from her agent and says they're looking for, moms with kids who are 10 to 12. Like, if you have any, let us know, type of thing. But more often than not, it's a director's like fanciful idea of like, oh, it'd be really great, the chemistry of these two people if they were really married. And my point is they're actors, and that's they're supposed to be bringing that to the party.
And also, exactly, in defense of SAG and what you guys do, really we should get fined because that spouse is not going to be a dues-paying member of SAG forever and a voter and a conscientious member. And you can act it, so the fine issue would sort of apply if you need a real wife, because SAG could argue, listen, you could find 10 people who look just like her and would have, taken the cake out of the oven just fine.
And especially when the producers ask us to find real people, not actors, real people. So, and I always say, so do you want me to bring them in the studio? And they're like, yeah. So we're all looking for actors, basically. So it's kind of like...
Yeah, so you can kind of... this one's for Alana. I'm not going to pronounce your last name because I'll butcher it. Alana. Hey. So she says, sorry, Ross, but this one's for the ladies. So,
yeah.
It's so empowering seeing...
Can't wait.
It's so empowering seeing strong, successful women up there. Can you speak about being a woman in the industry, any shifts you have experienced?
Beth?
I
never even thought of it that way.
In this industry is a big, broad topic in casting. I mean, definitely. One of the films I cast was for a prolific TV director named Rosemary Rodriguez. She's lovely, and she directs most of The Good Wives, and she did Rake. And I realized as I was working for her how unusual it is for women to be that high on the ladder in directing. There's a few superstars, and in directing television especially, the TV studio world is difficult. In casting, I recommend a documentary called Casting By. Marion Doherty, yeah. That really explains the journey of casting, which was often a woman's niche early on in the studio system, but there is an equality about it in casting. There doesn't seem to be, in my experience. So shifts, it's not. I'm not sure. I mean, women are getting lead role. Women are owning TV shows. Women of color are dominating TV shows. So that's definitely been a cultural shift. Interracial stuff has changed more dramatically than anything has for women, I think, which is so super cool. So yeah, I don't know if that answers your question.
I mean, for me, I just never thought of a gender situation. I just thought of, like, who's good at their job. And I happen to be a lady. So,
right.
So I mean, that's how I kind of thought of it. In the early days, there were more women casting directors, I think, than there were men, except for Lynn Stallmaster.
And Fred Roos, who's a client of mine. You know what's shifting, which is interesting, and can I say this, is that in commercial, no, it's a little risky and racy, no pun intended, is that in commercials, we used to be told we couldn't cast people of color in a role that may be perceived as subservient. You know what I mean? Like, we couldn't cast an African-American as a janitor. And I thought that's so ironic, because an African-American actor is then being punished to make a good living because you're worried. And I'm hoping that that's the new barrier that's being changed, that we don't have to have a discussion of people of color in American advertising and in capitalism's ability to sell a product. And that's where I think in this past 10 years, and the thing that's changing the most, you know, we wouldn't get a breakdown for an Arab person unless they were, I don't know, it just didn't really happen in commercials until very recently. And ethnically ambiguous is, of course, the big word out there, which means just about anything.
And now there's biracial couples, which is really nice to see as
and
well.
gay couples. And, you know, it was slow moving for so long, and now it's like, choo, we're off the cliff. Let's do it!
Yeah,
you know, party, everybody. So we're like, okay, you know.
Nice. Let's talk a little bit about reels. How are they helpful to you guys? Do you need them? Is it just what they do in the room that's sufficient? Talk a little bit about how you use them, if you use them at all.
Well, I would only use them if I'm doing a lot of dialogue. Otherwise, if someone needs to walk across the room, I don't need to see a reel, you know, unless they can't walk across the room.
I would guess that most commercial casting directors are the same. Reels don't apply.
Yeah, not so much.
Resume is fine. Tells us a lot, usually.
Yeah.
And is it purely, when it says list upon request, is that what you're inquiring about, or is there theatrical things that may draw you into if they fit a character or anything like that?
Well,
does that inform you?
The list upon request is because of the conflict area.
Yes, absolutely.
And so, yeah, and so it's more that if we can't get what we need from the resume, at least for my office, we can't get what we need from the resume, we'll turn to the reel. But again, the volume is so staggering sometimes of what we're going through, of pictures and stuff that
we don't have very much time to cast, so to sit there and look at reels, the next day of casting isn't going to happen.
And by now, we three have worked so long that when I see a resume, resumes are essential, though. It's an instant snapshot. If we have,
and you can pick out what's real and what's fake,
and like you know, which are the good theater schools, or if they've just trained at a small school here in Hollywood over the past few years, and everybody puts groundling training 1, 2, 3, 4 now, and everybody puts UCB training. So then we look at, well, were they really cast in comedy stuff in TV shows? You know what I mean? The resume is super helpful.
Percentage-wise, the question was union versus non-union work, roughly estimate-wise, what kind are you seeing it across your table?
Talk about falling off a cliff.
Yeah.
Bad news bears.
Well, I mean, you know, 10 years ago, we're like, oh, no, we don't do SAG. Now
Yes.
it's like, what time should I get there?
Ditto.
You know, it's like we do non-union and union. Unfortunately, that's kind of how it is right now. But there's a lot of non-union actors that are great, you know, and ad agencies do see that.
And clients see that. That's what happens is when they present their talent to the product, to the client for approval, they say, well, why was I paying SAG dues? You know, these people are fine. And of course, we're thinking they're not all really fine. And had you seen the great comedy people who are in the union, it would have been such
a difference.
Yeah, it's a big difference. And it's not for our voice to be heard. I did put myself out there once on a conference call. It's like, can I try and get this union? And the production was like, sure. And the client was on the call, and she was like, no, I just need you to know that the last campaign we did, and I thought, okay, I tried, and SAG called me the next day and said, could you try and get this? I said, I tried, and unfortunately, it's not our battle in this economy.
It makes our life a lot easier to the SAG contracts to have something that's already negotiated, that's out there when we go to book people. But more and more clients have seen, oh, okay, I can get by in this role with this, and so they are trying to do that. But I think that all three of us are proponents and fans and friends of the actors. And when people call to ask budgets, I set them very high in terms of non-union because they get what they pay for, and that may make them, and also a lot of clients don't understand that, oh, if they really do the numbers, they can do this SAG,
and then they hold
conflict,
and then they want to hold conflicts, which is crazy to me.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate because more SAG actors are becoming FICOR, and our talent pool is getting richer for non-union stuff, so I don't see the trend stopping necessarily really soon.
Jan Daly, is Jan Daly here? Hey, Jan. Her question is for seniors, but I'm going to try to broaden this out a little bit. She talks about when you're casting seniors.
Like we're seniors, or
no, like when you're casting senior actors who are seniors.
Kidding.
Around the idea of stereotypes, are they always looking for the gray hair people? Maybe when they're looking for a certain type of roles, are they always looking for certain stereotypes? Like, the guy that drinks a beer, or like, is there talk a little bit around
I think
conversations
it
around
comes
that?
down to per job again, for sure. And knowing the relationship that we have with the directors lets us, and looking at so many boards and knowing what they're looking for, we know if it's Viagra's looking for a certain type of guy in their commercial, but the other commercial's looking for somebody else. They want a really real-looking person who's not, modelly. They want, and so it just depends on the job.
Yeah,
and
if
knowing.
it's a pizza commercial, they want a funny-looking older person who doesn't know the camera's on, right? And if it's a healthcare company, they want someone. I was amazed recently how many older women, much older women, have wigs, have a lot of different wigs. For
Lots of
older
them,
stuff.
yep.
Yeah, I wasn't really aware of that, and it's not a bad investment if it's really
If it looks
super
good,
Yeah.
If they're all like blue,
How's that, Danielle? Was that?
Scooch it over.
Jerry, is that Jerry Marr? I can't remember. Is Jerry here? Jerry? Maybe it's online. Maybe we'll say Jerry's online watching. How is best for actors to show appreciation? Sometimes maybe is it thank you cards? Do they gifts?
Cards.
Talk a little bit about.
I
talk
truly,
about appreciation.
I love
for booking.
I love a heartfelt note, like a truly, like something that says thanks for, or I had a great time at this, or the set was a lot of fun, or whatever. I do like that. I love hearing how it went and a little note.
I agree, because guys, don't forget, we're not the ones who are working for you. You made us look good. Your agents are working for you. That's who gets the money spent, in my opinion.
We need you as much or more than
Yeah,
you
we
need
want
us.
you to
Like,
book the job.
We want
We're
you to go out
definitely
there
on
and
your
do a
side.
good job.
The note is the best thing, for sure.
Vanilla candles.
I mentioned wine earlier, right?
Chocolate.
Homemade cookies, that whole thing.
No, nothing
No,
homemade.
I know. I'm joking.
No
It's a
homemade.
joke.
Homemade.
It's a joke.
Okay.
Talk a little about the question here isn't from anybody. So anonymous asked, "I have a heavy Middle Eastern accent. Does that limit him to just Middle Eastern accent?"
Yeah.
And talk a
That's what
little.
he has.
Yes.
Next.
Yes.
Next question.
And my follow-up being, then, is it still heavy neutral when it comes to auditions? Are you neutral American?
If you're doing an American product, we're not going to
You're
hire
I was
you.
going to say, in all fairness, joking aside, if it's a non-dialogue role and you're looking
fine, yeah.
to cover a broad base of looks, then sure, it's not a problem at all. But if it's an accent, it doesn't just go for Middle Eastern. It could be any accent. It doesn't matter where. If it's not an accent that they're looking for that carries through for the product, then it won't work.
We recently had an adorable young girl in for a shoe thing, and she had a really thick accent. And the more she tried to get through the copy, the worse the thing got for her. And I happened to be in the room at that time, and I just said, you know what, you should probably let your agent know. They really had a responsibility to let me know, because you're adorable, and I'd bring you in for other things. And I said the exact spiel is, there's a lot of women who I could have brought in for this one time frame. And nothing against you, but you have a responsibility to let everybody know.
And we usually, on the breakdown, say no accents if we're doing dialogue,
It seems self-evident.
Let's talk a little bit about special skills. Which ones are really helpful to know, and which ones you're like, maybe I don't need to know that you can drive a car, or do you need to know everything?
Driving a stick shift doesn't really...
Not so much.
People do that a lot. I mean, you got to be honest. If you skydove once on your honeymoon, don't put skydiving on there.
We once did a thing where they had to dive off a 10-meter board, and I got thousands of submissions. I'm like, whoa, this is going to be easy. So we actually did the audition at a pool, and they all walked in with their towels and their bathing suits, and I just pointed up, and they all turned around and walked back out. I put 3 people on tape. That was it that day.
It's very
so
rare.
Just be honest.
Because
please.
honestly, the person who doesn't have the special, it's not going to get the job. And then you're not also going to get in good favor with the casting office. So what's the point?
Yeah, exactly. Don't lie.
Anita? Is Anita here? In the back. Hey, Anita.
Hi, Anita.
I think you said this, but we'll, just to reemphasize, her question is, what are the top 3 things you feel the strongest commercial actors do in the audition room? Is it different than what you mentioned before? Or is it the
Well,
same
that brings
thing?
up something we haven't talked about yet, is the improv thing.
There you go.
We're not
You read my
allowed to
mind.
ask actors to improv and go off script because
you get fined.
A lot of different, we get fined. And it started from back in the day. They would steal comedians' lines 100 years ago in Chicago, and now the contract is very broad. But you'll notice it's where our culture is going, and media is going right now with Judd Apatow and Kristen Wiig and everyone else who's funny. They all improv these shows and these movies. And so good, funny people come in and ask, can I go off script with this? But we're also directed. They would like some improv to do, and we can't really say it.
We say buttons.
Well, we say if you feel like I'm not telling you have to, but if you feel
We
like
say
you
make
wanna,
it your own.
Yeah, make it your own. Embellish the script. I'm not going to tell you not to. But so that's one thing. Good actors think really quick on their feet and add something, that. But they're also, in my experience, great auditioners learn scripts really fast.
Yeah.
They get off script super fast. That applies
And
to
they get it.
theatrical or commercial stuff, and they come in and are ready to work. They're just on it.
And I would say, the question was, what was it, the things that, listening,
strong,
honestly, listening, when the session directors are telling you guys what's going on, they're doing it again so many times, and they're trying to relay the information for you, for your benefit. And you'd be amazed at how many people are not paying attention.
And the thing is too, when we redirect you, or if the director redirects you and you learn something at home and you're practicing, just keep yourself open to listen to what they have to say and drop whatever it was that you worked on and just be in the moment with him. That's really, really important. A lot of people are like, oh, I get it. And then they do the exact same thing. Right. It's like, no. So just...
I know that seems so basic, but it's a really great point.
It's true.
Being in the moment there, because the people who book the jobs, when you watch back, and you go, oh, they actually listened and made that adjustment and did something different.
And the director's going to be working with you on the set, so he wants to know that you can do that.
And let me tell you, we all know that there's some who you audition for. They're really rude to you and don't recognize that just saying, hey, hi, come on in, helps you as an artist, but don't put them on a pedestal. They're really all nervous about their own jobs too, and whether things are and they're having a hard time with their other thing and the location just fell through. They're just human beings. They really are not all that powerful and magical, so they want you to be good. They do want you to be good.
That comes back to the gifts thing.
Yeah, the gifts.
Vanilla candles.
I think that honestly, we try on our tapes. We try to do, if we have a vision of what we think is the perfect audition, and they do that right out of that's the first one they do is perfect. We will do a second one still just to show a range, even if it's off from where we think it should be going. But because the director and the ad agency really want to see that they're getting someone who can move and be flexible in the audition and with the material.
Yeah, and that's when improv comes in. We like to look at that. So it keeps you open.
Sarah, who's watching online and sent a question in through Twitter, so she's probably following you, Danielle, if not already.
Sorry, Beth.
No,
sorry, Beth and Ross.
Calling hers. I'll figure it out.
Her question is, how much time, on average, between when you signed on to cast a project and then through the audition process and it's been cast? What's an average time frame?
Prep, cast, and a callback? It goes really fast. It's really, really fast. Usually it's a prep, 2 casts, and then 2 days later or a day later you get a callback. It's really, really quick.
Yeah, you could prep on Monday. It really is faster and faster, but you could prep on Monday, cast Tuesday, Wednesday, callbacks Friday, and they're shooting Monday.
Yeah.
It happens that fast. I love it because the pacing
no, it's great.
is...
That's why we do it.
Yeah, I like it. It's great for the ADD.
For our
It's
ADD.
perfect. And also, if you don't like someone you're working for, you're done with them in a week.
Yeah, exactly.
They're gone.
Friday, we're done.
That is the nice thing about commercials is they're shooting really soon. The theatrical world, not so much.
Yeah.
So then a little bit about that availability, which is probably ties in the conflicts. Have you guys run into the issue of actors saying they're available and then all of a sudden, what happened?
Oh my God.
And they weren't.
Yeah.
All the time.
All the time.
Yeah. Go ahead, Danielle.
It makes us look bad. It really does, because it makes us feel like we're not doing our job. Well, why didn't you tell us? Well, we just got this information. You know, it's like, if this is what actors do sometimes. They come in and they have a callback knowing that they have a conflict on at least one of the days.
Or a wedding.
But they want to be seen by the director, and that's not fair. You know, you have to really be available on the days that we ask you to be available.
Or at least be upfront and be clear if they're not available on one day. Because a lot of times the spots are shooting in multiple packages. There's 3 spots over 4 days. And so if you're not available one day, great. Or if they love you, they can switch the location around and make it work. I mean, that does, yeah, that does happen. But to do that, and then what happens is for us, at the end of the day, and ultimately it makes, we lose clients over this, literally, because they go, we love this person, and then, oh, they're not available. Well, why did we
see them?
Why did we see them? Like, you wasted, not only did you waste our time, but we fell in love with them.
And we sold them to our clients.
And we sold, yeah, that's the absolute
And it
worst.
makes us not trust your agent, and it makes us not trust you as an actor, because you can't be responsible with the dates that we gave to you from the beginning of the job.
We're trying so hard and moving so fast that to have that fall out from underneath us at the end is it's devastating.
Horrible.
Yeah.
We're going to be wrapping up soon, so I want to give you this opportunity to, any last nuggets of wisdom, advice, thoughts you want to part onto the audience and those that are watching online.
The only thing I have to say is you guys need to simplify your life. Don't make everything so crazy and confusing. I mean, I lived with an actor one time, and I thought I was going to die.
Wait, is that the problem for me right now?
Oh, she's very professional. But literally, to get to the audition, she was like, oh my God, where's my boots? Oh my God, where are my sides? Oh my God, how does my hair look? Oh my God. By the time she got to the audition, she was like, you know, it's like, don't get yourself crazy. Simplify it. You know, do whatever you have to do. Get there, you know, use Waze to get through traffic. We don't want to hear, oh, traffic was horrible. There's Waze now. You know what I mean? It'll tell you exactly what time you're going to get to the audition. She doesn't know Waze either. This is 2014 then. All right. So that, to me, is just simplify your life. That's what I really want to tell you guys.
I know it sounds corny, but have fun. Just enjoy what you do, because we can tell, like you can tell that the 3 of us sort of like each other and had a good time tonight. Just enjoy yourself, you know, or then or do something else. Yeah. And honestly, which is true for anything in life, you know. Yeah.
And don't beat yourself up. I would say enjoy yourself. You go to do an audition, give yourself to the next place you go to think about it or whatever, and then let it go and let it be out there.
Take yourself out to dinner.
Yeah.
Take yourself out to dinner. I think that's a great place to end. Let's give.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
And we really love you guys, and we really want you to book. So we don't want to intimidate you in any way. We are on your side. Without you, we don't have jobs. Remember that.
Let's give them a hand and say thank you.